Hello, everybody, and
Hi,
welcome to Dice Jailers. I'm Jordan,
I'm Bjorn.
and this week we are going to talk about the mystifying deals with amazing powers as peoples known as the Warlocks.
Yes, the edgiest of the edgy boys.
Oh,
Edgy
yes.
hair. Edgy boy.
It's, yeah, you gotta find a different way to say that.
Nope, I don't. I will
Our,
not. Today
our
we're talking
videos
about edging.
nope, that's not, well, here we are. Oh, God, I apologize. Apparently my mic is really, really hot today.
Oh,
Cool. Bjorn, what you
yeah.
been up to?
Oh man. Not a whole heck of a lot. We had a amazingly epic session on Sunday.
Yes, we did.
We had a combat that took 3.5 hours
Jeez.
against a single foe.
Because
That
someone kept letting him heal.
man, when you homebrew an evil wizard and they're super powerful, man, that was a fun, rewarding combat. Honestly, the first part of my week was a little bit recovering from that, just in the sense of
Mm-hmm.
making sure my story was going well and knowing where you guys are going to go next, because there are only a couple milestones left. I know where this story is going to go and end up. And so I had to make sure my plot threads were there. So I actually spent a lot of time on Monday, both relaxing and writing, which was great.
Cool.
I got to check in with a friend of mine who's a director for the Shakespeare Fest I work with. Had to make sure that we do right by his vision for his show. There
Mm-hmm.
was some talk about potentially doing it in a different way, but I got the feeling nobody had talked to him about it. So I talked to him,
Mm.
found out he's not interested. So I can go back to the board and say, we're not going to do that. He doesn't want to. And so he knows I'm on his side. Got to play Icewind Dale on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yesterday was St. Patrick's, so we had corned beef and cabbage and
Yep.
potatoes and
It certainly was St. Patrick's Day.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep. And I love corned beef.
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious. But they
It's
don't
so good.
you don't stock it at the store all the time, except for this
No.
time of year, and it gets to be inexpensive. And so I have leftover corned beef. So I'll be making homemade corned beef hash this weekend. And
Yes.
I love corned beef.
Oh,
But
it's so
literally
good.
that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah. Oh,
God, let's
and I'm
just
looking
switch
at
today into a cooking show and just talk about corned beef.
and I'm looking at one shots for us. I realize the month of March has gotten away from us.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
it has.
we
Yep,
likely will not be able to do that. That's okay. I'm very
yep.
happy to start prepping for April. Oh, and shit, Saturday night we had dinner theater, and
Right. Yeah.
it was amazing. Like the hotel did a great job with the tables all being properly distanced. They were basically all two tops, so it was all parties of two, sitting, them together, everyone else apart, and all the guests were super cool. They were
That's awesome.
distanced when they went to the bar. Like when they got up from their table, they had masks on. All the food was catered. It was in disposable containers. They used disposable flatware, disposable cups for drinks. Like the hotel worked super hard to make this happen, and we had a great show, and
Well,
the
that just
audience had
shows.
fun.
That just shows how much they appreciates you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking forward. I have another show here in a week and a half, and I have two more in April. But it feels really good to be in front of a live audience. And I
Word.
won't lie, when I did my host speech at the end of the night to thank the audience, there may have actually been a tear or two because
Oh yeah.
I couldn't believe I was hearing live applause. I haven't heard that in a year.
Right.
And so um, while I will admit it may be a little questionable whether it's the single best idea with the phase we're at and with how
Mm-hmm.
open that room was, because it was originally three different rooms that they opened
Right.
all of them up to be one massive room. And when I walked in there, like there was more than 6 feet between all the tables. Like they did distancing and then some. Like I could
That's
tell the
good.
hotel took it really seriously, and they upped their ventilation system. Also,
Yo,
made sure
that's
that they
significant.
just I think that it sounded like they had some HVAC fellas in there leading up to this to make sure it was good to go. And so here's the performing.
Just fucking performing again.
I
That's
know.
oh, that's the dream.
What about you,
Oof.
man? What's the week been like?
Mostly it's been I've mostly been just relaxing a bit.
Yeah.
I'm prepping for a friend of mine that I'll put all the info on our Facebook page,
Yep.
probably also like in the comment on the YouTube. But on this upcoming week, I am hosting their video release for their video debut for 3 new songs of theirs for their
Oh,
for my
cool.
buddy's band, and it's super dope. 'Cause they're such a great group. And the best is that like all the members of the band, they are just about all different generational groups, which is super dope because you can really hear in their tracks all the variation that comes from all of their different inspirations. And uh most of them are like classically trained musicians as
Sure,
well.
sure.
And it's wild. So just prepping to do that with a little bit of a QA with the chat, as well as between the chat and the band, and like facilitating that. It's gonna be super fun. uh
And
and
that's really
then
cool too, because by being different generations and having those different influences, they can learn from each other as
exactly.
musicians. Like that's really, really valuable as an artist.
And they all play, just between the four of them. There are 4 or 5 of them. They play so many different instruments. Like it's impressive. But yeah,
I mean, that almost sounds like that almost sounds magical.
it does sound a little magical.
Yeah, like,
It's they're so good. It's almost like they made a deal with the devil for their talent.
yeah, they're so devoted to each other. They have this pact between them.
That's our worst one yet.
I don't know about that. There were some really bad ones.
That's true. Oh God, it's the early days. Uh,
Yeah,
it's weird. We've been doing this long enough that there are early days now.
I know, right? We've been doing this a whole 6 whole months.
This is episode 27, man.
There you go. Yeah,
Oh gods, but
yeah.
let's get it on talking about these warlocks.
Warlocks. This is a cool class. This one came around in 3.5.
Yep.
This is a newer class. This doesn't go back to the early days. This isn't going all the way back TSR,
Hmm.
Dungeon Magazine, and all that. This is new,
Hmm.
and I like it. Um,
It's a very and especially the way that they've shifted it for 5th edition as opposed to 3.5.
yeah,
It's even different from that. And it's a really cool way that they're taking it, because the warlock, for the like 2 or 3 of you that haven't played one or haven't had one in the party, the warlock's basic thing, like, they are a caster. They're heavy casting. But in 5th edition, they always cast their spells at the highest strength.
which makes them very interesting, and then also,
Mm-hmm.
they don't get that full range of spell levels and spell slots like
Nope.
bard, cleric, druid, sorcerer before them, and then wizards that we'll talk about next week.
Mm-hmm.
Their slot numbers are very limited, like
Yeah.
the bard, cleric, and druid. D8 hit die, which
Yep.
I'm all about. More
Yep.
hit points.
It's a caster that's a little bit sturdy.
It is. But you get very few cantrips.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
start.
mean, you're getting Eldritch Blast.
I mean, you are like. Can you play a warlock without Eldritch Blast? You technically can.
You can.
However,
Why?
yeah, the biggest reason I think it's important to go your cantrips are Eldritch Blast and what? There are so many Eldritch invocations that modify your Eldritch Blast.
Mhm.
And I'm not just talking about Agonizing Blast. It's
Yeah.
the most obvious one because you get to add your Charisma mod to your
Yep.
damage rolls for Eldritch Blast, which is huge.
Yes.
But I think you can play a Warlock and not take Agonizing Blast and still be
Oh yeah.
very effective. For me, I'm taking it. I want to be able to do that damage because that is the thing about the Warlock. As a caster, you are a damage caster.
I mean,
You have
the
so many ways of hurting the enemy.
I was thinking one of the best reasons to not take Agonizing Blast is if you're playing a Hexblade, because you won't need it, because
Yeah.
Hexblade.
Exactly. But yeah, like some of the things that I love about Warlocks, I do love that the spell is always cast at the highest level, up to 5th
It's
level.
it's
because
so
that's where their spell
thematically
slots-
cool.
Yeah, but that's, remember, 5th level is where the spell slots cap.
Yep.
Now, you do get the Mystic Arcanums. You do get 1 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spell, respectively.
Yep.
But those spells can never be upcast,
Nope.
which is a huge thing to think about when you're taking all your spells. When you take your 1 through 5 spells as you level up, you want to make sure you're taking a spell that is worth casting at the highest level.
Yes.
If it's a spell that you would only really get any use of at a 1st or 2nd level, it's kind of a waste for a Warlock, with the exception of maybe taking Counterspell. And
Yeah.
the only reason I say maybe is your spell slots are so preciously few.
That you don't really want to use one on Counterspell, but at the same time, Counterspell's such an important spell to have as any caster.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't even get your 3rd spell slot until you hit 11th level.
Yeah, it's significant.
It is worth noting. Now, granted, it means you're always counterspelling at level 5, which means spells levels 5 through 1, you're always going to negate them.
Mm-hmm.
Anything above that, you will have to roll. There is no way for you to cast a 9th level counterspell, which is part of the balance.
Which is hilarious.
It is.
Just a 9th level counterspell is the biggest magical go fuck yourself.
It is. Oh, your spell, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I think when building a Warlock, obviously when talking about stats, charisma is going to be number 1.
Absolutely. It's what you cast off of.
Yeah. And I will say, if you're playing a Warlock, consider being the face of your party, because there are Eldritch Invocations that can give you the face skills. You don't need to have a background that gives them to you, which can really allow you to open up a lot of the other skills if you want to be more of a skill monkey kind of player, which can be fun. Outside of charisma, however, there's a lot of variance in how you can build the Warlock.
Yeah, and it's really Warlock is another one of those classes that you really get to apply your stat points to fit your character rather than fitting the class.
Yeah. Now, I know I say it with every class. It's very true with Warlocks. Con is not a dump stat, and here's why. You have precious few spell slots.
Yep. So concentration is big.
You're probably going to cast a concentration spell.
Yep.
Because you need to get mileage out of those spells you are casting.
You really do.
Have that con mod. This is a great class to take that Warcaster feat. So
absolutely.
Get advantage on those concentration checks, because the last thing you want is to throw that spell out there and have it drop concentration in one round.
There's also talking about feats. With a Warlock, unless you're playing a Hexblade, the relatively new feat of Gunner, if your DM allows it to be in your game, is beautiful. Really because you don't get disadvantage for using a ranged spell when you're in melee range, which is huge. Like, if you're not a Hexblade, you can still Eldritch Blast someone in the face from point blank range, and it doesn't hurt you.
I think what's cool though, also, like, you know, with the Warlocks, you know, talking the stats, like you said, you can change the other stuff around as needed. You're probably dumping strength. There's just not a Warlock build that has a need for it,
except maybe Hexblade.
Yeah, in which case you can just take Pact of the Blade and you're fine.
Yeah.
So there are ways to balance that. But what's beautiful is you can go, okay, maybe I want to be a little more Dexy. I want to be a stealthy Warlock. That's cool. That makes sense. Be that shadowy, edgy magic user.
Yep. Multi-class and rogue. Who gives a damn?
It works. Maybe you're like, no, I'm going to boost my intelligence, because even though I have this pact, I want to be really smart, because my goal is to ultimately outsmart my patron, which, by the way, it's a cool character.
Yeah, that is such a cool plot hook.
And then, or maybe you boosted your wisdom. You're like, well, my character's not that smart, but I have good, just natural survival skills. Again, maybe that's why your patron sought you out. There are ways to alter that.
Yeah, there are ways to legitimize any choice with a Warlock, which is also cool. Like, because there are some classes where just having a particular stat really high is just wrong, almost.
Or not helpful.
Yeah, or like there's no reason why you would have that except for like some convoluted backstory thing. And with Warlock, because of the nature of having this pact with a patron, it, just about any choice comes pretty naturally.
Yeah. Now, even though you only get a few spells, and you're probably going to rely on that Eldritch Blast a lot,
Yep.
because it's an amazing cantrip. Like anybody who wants to knock a Warlock of like, oh, you cast Eldritch Blast again, go ahead and look over at the fighter and go, oh, you use your sword again. Like
Right.
most classes have their go-to thing.
Yeah.
Now, I have heard people say, oh, if someone's going to play their first caster, give them the Warlock. It's
Absolutely
the most
not.
simple. Yeah, and I couldn't disagree more. I think between what I call the big three caster classes, which are Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, I think Warlock might be the most complicated because
I would tend to agree. I would lean that way. Yeah.
you have the Eldritch Invocations, which you have so many to choose from, and you only get a few.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, you have to choose your pact at level 3.
Mm-hmm.
And a Warlock, like Jordan, you and I could both take the exact same stats. And I don't mean like we both use standard array. I mean the both same stats put on paper.
Yep.
Same race, build a Warlock, use the same patron. And if only our Eldritch Invocations and our pacts were different, we would have wildly different characters.
Wildly different Warlocks. Oh, yeah.
We could even take the same spells, but with those little differences, incredibly different. So there's a lot of nuance.
I think that's part of what makes the Warlock such a deceptively complicated caster.
Yes.
Is because, like, you have... Although you don't have the, like, ridiculous array of spells to choose from like a wizard, the importance of the things that you pick are way more glaring in a Warlock than they are in the other caster classes.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And what's great is you can really tool them to the kind of player you are. Maybe you're like, I just want some more spells, so you go Pact of the Tome. And now you get some ritual spells that can be very utility. You didn't waste one of your precious spell choices.
Yes, which that is huge.
Yeah, you could go Pact of the Chain and be like, hey, I've always got a friggin' familiar that can do really cool stuff. Or you go Pact of the Blade because you're a Hexblade. Because you're not going to pick Pact of the Blade. Unless you're a Hex.
That is the one big thing that we should definitely remember to shout out is if you are picking Pact of the Blade and you are not a Hexblade.
I admire your bravery.
What?
Yeah. When I first read through the player's handbook and I saw the different pacts for the Warlock, this is pre-seeing Hexblade, because that came out in Xanathar's. I saw Pact of the Blade and I went,
what?
Why would I ever choose this? Why am I using this weapon? I'm a Warlock. I already can't use crap for weapons.
Yeah.
So what? I'm going to take a spear and be like,
yeah. Like,
no.
Except for Hexblade, like, the only reason Pact of the Blade is there besides Hexblade is for a multi-class.
Yeah.
It really is.
Now, I know we've talked a little bit about, the downside is how few spells they get. You do get them back on a short rest.
Yes, which that is quite big.
If you know you're at a point in the game where you're like, hey, I think we can get a short rest out of this, blow those spells. Just let them go and watch the other casters look at you in envy as you get your spells back and they don't.
Yeah, which that is huge. And I guess we've hit on a lot of the good things that we really enjoy about the Warlock, like getting your spells back on a short rest, the different Eldritch Invocations that are just so much fun. Like, there's one Eldritch Invocation that just, you have permanent mage armor.
Yep.
Like, well, it's not quite like permanent mage armor, but like you can cast mage armor for free.
Yeah.
And it just, like, that's just so good. But what, if you could say, like, one thing besides the sheer number of spells, is there something you'd say that's kind of a downside to the Warlock, besides that number of spells?
I think it can be feeling a little limited in your spell choices as you level up. Granted, there are some spells that scale extremely well.
Yes.
And then some that don't. it is sort of that obligation to pick spells that scale well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it, a spell that's not going to be any different at 4th level than it is at 2nd level, it's hard for me to even give that spell the time of day. No matter how good it may be, it's not going to be useful to my party. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, I kind of feel like when you're playing a warlock, you sort of feel almost obligated to play that face role in your party.
You do.
I know you don't necessarily have to, but when you look at things like Mask of Many Faces, you get so many different ways that you can really excel as that.
And I mean, your character's gonna be a charisma character as a warlock,
Yeah.
so you're kind of geared for it. I get
And I
that.
think the only other knock I would give is because of how many spells you can get sort of for free through your Eldritch Invocations. I mean, there's one that gives you polymorph once
Yeah.
per day. There is a lot of needing to read through a lot of spells in the
Yeah.
player's handbook to make those choices. And so that's the one area where I'm like, warlocks can be a little tough. The reliance on Eldritch Blast can feel boring to some because you're a
Yeah.
spellcaster and people go into this caster class and they want to cast all these spells. And I think it's really easy to play a warlock and to have wished you had chosen a sorcerer or a wizard.
Yeah.
So what about you?
For me, the real downside comes to, and it comes from the invocations, and that's in that, like, I don't know about you, but often while playing and while creating characters, I I get hit with choice paralysis a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's such a big thing for the warlock because your choices are so important,
Yes.
and you can
And
very
so
much
few you
feel,
can make.
yeah, and you can very much feel like you cheated yourself almost because you don't often get to switch those choices. Like you can
Correct.
switch up, I think it's what, an invocation each level or something like that.
Yes, you can switch an invocation each
Yeah.
level, but you only have like you start with no invocations, you get 2 at 2nd level, and then you don't get your 3rd until 5th level.
Mm-hmm.
So those first ones you choose can feel very limiting. And then plus there are certain invocations you don't even get access to them until you are a certain level.
Yeah.
And then moreover, certain invocations you can only have depending on your pact.
Yes. And like it's just so huge that there's like those choices are so important, and you really have to like I'm an advocate for especially in D&D just making a choice that you think is cool and just going with it and being
Oh
like,
yeah.
don't spend your energy on reading all of the everything. Like if you have this choice that you gravitate to, just do that and don't worry about the others. But with warlocks you can't do that.
Yeah, you can feel a little railroaded by your patron and then by your pact. You
Mhm.
can feel like you have less choices and less agency in how you
Yeah.
build your character. That said, it's also potentially one of the most fun classes in the game because they're
Yes.
really powerful,
And you
not
can
just in
get
combat. You
and
can
you could
get
get into
great
some
social.
real shenanigans with your invocations.
It's
Like
true.
my personal favorite of the invocations. I know we didn't plan to talk
Oh yeah,
about like
please.
specifically the invocations, but they're so important. But my favorite one, you can't take it until a ninth level. It's Ascendant Step, and it's just you get to cast Levitate without spending a spell slot or
Is it
using
at will?
material components. Yes, it is. You can do it all the time. So you can just be that floaty boy.
You can, or you can just carry around something heavy because you're
Yep.
levitating.
And you just like it's just that just lends itself to so many shenanigans in itself that you just like you just have free casting of levitate like bah.
It's beautiful. So the archetypes are very different from each other
Yes.
for the most part. Like when you're going to pick an archetype, particularly with the warlock, because you're picking your patron at level 1. This is like the cleric.
Yes.
Level 1, you're making your choice out the door, and there's no going back. Depending on your DM,
Yeah.
might offer this thing where like, okay, you could lose this patron and then get this one instead, and it's going to change your whole list and all your abilities. And maybe your DM's down with that. There's a good chance, however, your DM is going to go, man, I'm not writing that.
Right.
I got a lot of work to do.
Just like, I'm doing so much else with this game. Do you
Why don't
really?
you retype your character and make a new one? How about that?
Right.
There's a good chance they're going to say that. There's one that I love above all else.
Okay.
It's
Get
not going to
after it.
surprise you at all. It's the Hex Blade.
Yes, it is.
I love the Hex Blade. It's not just my love of melee martial classes, though. That's part of it. But when you read the entry on the Hexblade, it talks about these, well-known sentient weapons or whatnot throughout D&D lore. Like it mentions Black Razor, which is a very, very important part of D&D lore as a sentient weapon. And the idea of actually having a weapon, that is your patron. It is simply the blade itself. Now, you can get it from a god. It mentions the Raven Queen specifically under the Hexblade, but you have this weapon that's given to you by your patron, or it's the weapon itself.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. And then as far as the abilities you get, at level 1, you get the fact you can use all martial weapons, shields, and medium
armor.
You now can have a decent AC with a low dexterity. Get yourself a breastplate as soon as you can, and you will be good. The extended spell list, I love it. You get shield at level 1. Again, we talked about spells that don't really scale with level. Shield is on that list.
Yep.
It's not going to change no matter what level you cast it at, but that +5 to AC can save your ass.
It sure can.
Times over.
It has saved my Hexblade so many times.
Yeah.
Because I'm playing like we were talking about this before we started filming the episode, but like I think I'm playing like 3 different Warlocks in different games right now. Like I like Warlocks. They're fun.
They are. You get 4 different smites.
Mm-hmm.
You get Blink. You get Cone of Cold, which is a very powerful spell.
Yep.
Now, granted, one of the first level spells you're going to take Hex.
Yeah.
You are going to take Hex, not just as a Hexblade, as a Warlock. It's a great spell. And then,
Hex is a beautiful spell for Warlocks.
And then you look at Hexblade's Curse, which means, all you got to do as a bonus action, you choose a creature within 30 feet, and they are now cursed by this. There's no save.
Nope, it's just
you add your proficiency bonus to damage rolls. You crit on a 19 or 20, and if you kill that target, and it's not if you kill it, if the target dies, I should say, you get regain hit points equal to your Warlock level plus your Charisma mod.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to say you regain hit points. Now, these aren't temporary hit points. They don't increase your hit point maximum, but it means you can afford to take some damage here.
Mm-hmm. You can take a lump or two.
Yeah. You get to use Hex Warrior to allow you to channel your will through whatever weapon you're wielding.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you attack with that weapon, you're using your Charisma mod instead of Strength or Dexterity, which is why you don't need to worry about those stats as this melee fighter.
Which is beautiful. You can be with the Hexblade, you can be a like all mental stat character and still be a competent melee combatant, which is wild.
Wonderful. The 6th level ability, Accursed Spectre, it's okay.
It's fine.
Curse the soul of someone you slay, bind it to your service. It rises as a specter. It's all right, but it can give you another little minion in combat. The 10th level ability is what I'm here to talk about.
That's
Armor of Hexes. So if you have something hit with your Hexblade's Curse and it hits you with your attack roll, you can use your reaction. Now, that's the important thing. You're using your reaction. This isn't every attack that hits you, but you roll a d6. On a 4 or higher, the attack misses you regardless of its roll. And that's the important thing. If they roll a natural 20, Armor of Hexes. You roll a 4, 5, 6, the crit just missed. The 14th level ability, Master of Hexes, where you can spread your curse to other targets after you've killed it.
I mean, that's just...
It's nice.
It's
nice.
just gravy.
It's fun, but you're already 14th level. For me,
Yeah.
if I'm building my Hexblade, I'm taking Pact of the Blade. I'm doing improved pack weapon. I'm taking Life Drinker, so I get multiple attacks per round.
Yep.
But I'm also going to still have my Eldritch Blast and Agonizing Blast. Because here's why I love the Hexblade, is you can truly be a utility player in combat. You're not a barbarian. You're not just the melee monster. You can do great melee damage.
And you're not stuck with, like the barbarian, you're not stuck with just using spears for your range damage.
Right. You can now use Eldritch Blast if stuff's at a distance. So you can really help assist your allies on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Remember,
and you can still hit that enemy that's flying around the space.
Yep. The important thing to remember is, while you did put some stuff in con, especially if you're a Hexblade, if you're playing a Warlock, I always say, hey, put some in con. You're going to want to make those concentration checks. Now you're playing a Hexblade. Man, you're going to be in melee. You have to have Constitution.
Yeah.
You need hit points, and you have to make concentration checks.
If you're going to get hit, you need con. You do.
But you got to remember, you're a D8 hit die. You're not a D10, and you're not a D12. Your hit points will run out. Yeah. So be aware of that. But it is such a unique and fun class. I love the spell sword idea.
Yes.
But this is taking it to the next level where you are a monster.
And I do really wish that 5th edition's options for being a spell sword were better.
Yeah.
Because the Wizard's got Blade Singer.
Yep.
I mean, Fighter has Eldritch Knight, but it's not really there. Like, I miss the Magus.
I think the Eldritch Knight is your closest to a true spell sword in 5th edition.
As we are now, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
I will say
is not great, because it's not great.
A really fun thing you can do with that Hexblade is it's entirely possible. You're going to go into a situation where the DM lets it known, okay, tell your players, you have to leave your weapons here because there are no weapons allowed in the keep. And you have to get in this meeting with this magistrate. But you know the magistrate's going to betray you. You know deep down.
Absolutely.
He's not a trustworthy person, but we have to get in there. So with that wonderful Hexblade and with that wonderful Pact of the Blade, you get that improved packed weapon where you could just bamf it out of existence.
Bloop, here's my sword.
Yeah, you're like, look, I have no weapon. Go ahead and search me. And then when you're in the royal chamber before the magistrate, and then the magistrate does betray you and calls for the guards. And in that moment where all your other martial characters are going, shit, I have to wrestle a guard and take their spear away to fight them. You dramatically summon your sword to your hand, or axe, or whatever you're using.
Yeah.
If you're me, you're using a two-handed great sword. Because you're going to have the great weapon master feat, because you're going to get up in there and you're going to rearrange somebody's guts with a big blade. That's what you do.
Also, not... Nope. That's going to get our video flagged.
It might.
This is our not safe for work episode. You thought it was going to be the bards, but...
Yeah, you did. Don't, by the way, don't Google that. Don't
nope,
Google
don't, nope.
Don't Google that at work. It's
hard no.
not what you think it means. But you could have really dramatic moments. I played a Hexblade, a level 3 Hexblade for one session, and all I can say is this is the class I want to play a campaign in.
I will say for our friends that are actors, you think that playing the bard you'd get to do the most actory stuff in D&D. Absolutely not. It is the Warlock. You can be the most dramatic bitch.
You can, and the great thing is, you also don't have to. It's a great class where you can defy convention, because again, you're bound to this patron. You as the player, talk with your DM. decide why you are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for this Hexblade, this deity or this weapon or whatever that you're bound to, did you choose to be? Did you seek it out? Did it
Mm-hmm.
happen by accident? Is it a one ring situation? Are you bound to something that wants to find its way back to its master? What relationship do you have with your patron?
Yeah.
Do you guys like each other? Do you hate each other? Like, there's a lot you can go with here.
There
And
really is.
yeah, obviously, I did the edgy hair because
I hate
Warlocks.
you so much.
I know you do. I do this shit just because it'll make you laugh and shake your head. But you don't have to do that. You can be a very happy-go-lucky Warlock that has this great relationship with their patron, or maybe your Warlock is a Hexblade. They're the nicest person in the world, and they only use their power for good and right and justice. And you can straight up be lawful good, and you can be bound to this weapon of malice that
just hates your
you
guts
so much.
Yeah. See, thinking about the happy-go-lucky Warlock
Yeah.
is actually what brings me to my favorite subclass for the Warlock. And that is, it's a new one.
Yep.
It is the Genie.
Oh man, is that one fun?
Oh my god, it's so fun. So, because you're bound to a Genie. You get to pick, or you can roll, because there is a random roll table, of what kind of Genie that you're bound to. And like my Genie Warlock happens to be bound to the Merid, the water Genie.
Nice.
And she's just great. Cause she's like I talked with my DM and like we planned like this Genie is just here for shenanigans. Cause it's a Genie. Like like my character's bound to the Genie, and every once in a while she'll just pop up and be like, "Hey, can you mess with that guy?" Absolutely.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first, folks. I was so excited. Couldn't get the sentence out. Aladdin, Rogue Warlock multi-class. It's got that Genie.
Absolutely. It'd be so good. But yeah, I love the Genie, the Genie patron so much because it's open to being so different than how your usual Warlock happens, but it's still a Warlock.
And you get
it's not
cool
like
spells.
Yeah, it's not like with some of the other subclasses where the subclass makes it feel like a totally different class. Like,
right.
No, it's very, very different, but it still feels like a Warlock.
And
as well as the Vessel.
That may be my favorite part of the whole thing. You get to travel around your friggin' Genie bottle.
Yep.
And there are options for what the Vessel is. Like you could have an oil lamp and make it, real standard, or you could have it just be a ring with a compartment in it.
Yep. You can have and there's a part of me that almost picked that one. I ended up going with the oil lamp just because it made more sense with how my character is. Yeah, but I almost went with the ring with the compartment just so I could have my compartment apartment.
I love it. And then let's not overlook, if you're going to play a campaign that you know is going to go to high level, when you hit 17th level, you can get wish.
Yep.
Because your patron's a Genie.
Yep.
You can make a wish.
You can wish. Or not 17th, 14th.
Well, that's modified.
That's the limited wish, yeah.
Yeah. At 17th level, when you get that 9th level Mystic Arcanum, you can straight up take wish.
Yep. I mean, you can straight up take wish. You're taking wish. It's the only 9th level Arcanum that's open to you.
I mean, yeah. Like, if you go, well, no, I think I really want to, your DM will slap you and go, take wish. It's a Genie.
Yeah. Also, just if you have the option to take wish in D&D, you're taking wish.
Take wish. It's the most powerful anything in the game.
Yeah.
Take wish.
It's a wish.
Take wish. There's so much you can do with it. Even if you're just recreating 8th level spells, but take wish.
Yeah, but take wish.
Take wish.
See, one of my favorite things with the Genie patron is that Vessel. Cuz like just right from the jump, like you can only do it once a day, but you can just pop into your vessel for an amount of time that's, equal to your level and your casting modifier.
Yeah.
But like that's just a safe place to take a short rest.
Well, and how often have you heard the whole like, okay, we'll stealth in and we'll hide somebody in the bag of holding, and the DM goes, the bag of holding, which only has 10 minutes worth of air. Yes, please continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Please continue
Yep.
as you murder your party member as they suffocate. I want to hear more.
Yep.
You have a legit way to smuggle people in now.
Mm-hmm.
In
I mean,
an
it does
lamp,
take a while for you to be able to bring other people in
but
to your
still,
vessel, but it's still you in there.
and do a genie warlock, take the criminal background, and now you have a way to be smuggled around past guard checkpoints.
Mm-hmm.
The possibilities write themselves.
They really
do.
do.
This is a role play heavy archetype of the warlock,
and that's the big reason why I love it so much. There's also the 6th level feature, which a lot of subclasses, the 6th level feature is kind of the one that's dropped by the wayside.
Oftentimes.
Yeah. But not this one. You can just, as a bonus action, up to each day, up to the number of your proficiency modifier, you can, as a bonus action, give yourself a flight speed.
Yes.
For 10 minutes. Like, it's only a hover. You do have to remember that. But it's still hovering.
It is, because there are a lot of things that if you are on the ground can damage you. Being able to get over it, and that is flight without concentration.
Yeah, which
anything
that's
without
big.
concentration is always huge. Like,
oh yeah,
you want to watch a player's blood run cold, just all the color come out of their face, is that they're flying. Hit them with anything and go, make a concentration check. As they go, oh no. Because they don't have feather fall. That's a great
I could fall.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I love
Yeah.
I love the genie. It's new. It's awesome. It's one of the best things to come out of Tasha's.
Yeah. And I just really like any time that you can fly as a character, I'm into it. So then getting it for free, basically,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And I mean, there is also the nice touch of with the genie patron, if you, I don't know, don't have a healer in your party for some reason, once you hit 10th level and you can bring other people into your vessel, while you, like, by that time, you have enough time in the vessel that you can take a long rest in it. And also, they heal, even if you just take a short rest, you heal extra.
Yeah. This is a very Liamon's Tiny Hut kind of thing.
It is.
It's wonderful.
And one thing on the vessel that we didn't mention that is, it's a contingency thing that I know came out in playtesting, but it's, if the vessel is destroyed while you are in it, you just harmlessly pop out.
Yeah.
You don't get squished within the vessel.
Exactly.
Which, I know it came out in playtesting.
You know it did. Someone went, cool, I smash the oil lamp.
It's like, okay. The Warlock's just not in the oil lamp anymore, I guess.
That's the problem. No, it's now. No, you're right. The genie is incredible. It's great. I love it. Not all patrons are wonderful, though.
No, they are not.
There's one in particular that I have a problem with.
Okay.
And
get after it.
It's real simple. It's the fathomless.
Okay.
So here's my problem. In the player's handbook, we were given a few patrons. We were given the Fiend, we were given the Archfey, and we were given the Great Old One. Now, here we've got the Fathomless, that it's like, oh, you are plunged into a pack with the deep, an entity of the oceans, etc., etc. The Fathomless. And as you read it and like what it talks about, it sounds very much like, hey, it can be Cthulhu. We had that It's called the Great Old One. And it does it better. I'm sorry. This is a
Yeah.
half-ass rehash, and I'm not here to stand for it. I don't think like most of the spells you get, create or destroy water, don't care. Thunder
Yeah.
wave, that's all right.
It's
Gust of
fine.
wind, you gust of wind, cool. Silence, don't care. Lightning bolt, I super don't care. Most
See,
of
I
the
love
spells,
Lightning Bolt as a spell.
I do, but the thing is, as an expanded spell list, I'm not that interested.
That's
Um,
true.
Give me something more worthwhile. The coolest thing you get out of your expanded spell list is the 5th level Bigby's hand that
Yep.
specifically appears as a tentacle. But okay, you can, your 1st level feature, you can summon a 10-foot long tentacle from a point you can see within 60 feet of you that when it hits, it does 1d8 cold damage, and the target's speed is reduced by 10 feet. And as I read this over, I'm like, is this just a crappy Ray of Frost?
It is.
Now, granted, it does it on your bonus action, and that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that you get the swimming speed of 40 feet.
Yeah.
And can breathe underwater.
If your campaign has water in it, it's still a solid choice. But if your campaign doesn't really revolve around the ocean,
But as I read over it, I really look at it and go, this is just a half-assed version of the Great Old One. And my honest wonder for why this came about is if they went, well, Great Old One, that definitely
it came with, if I remember correctly, it came in with when there were a couple subclasses and things that came out in a partnership with League of Legends.
It may have,
and I'm 80% sure because there's in League of Legends there's Ilaoi who is this.
Sure, but as I look at it, I'm going, I look at this and I wonder if there was a level where they went, Cthulhu, who is straight up mentioned in the Great Old One when it's saying, hey, the different things, mentions Cthulhu, who is known as the Great Old One. And I wonder if they went, well, that's straight up Lovecraftian, and Lovecraftian stuff is super racist.
Yeah.
We kind of want to get away from that. And I wonder if that's what it was. And even if that's what it was, I kind of shake my head at WotC for a little bit. And I'm like, let the DM take care of that.
Yeah.
Like, I try and run a heavily anti-racist campaign as much as possible.
Well, yeah.
One of my players was like, hey, I'm going to do a Great Old One Warlock, and my patron's going to be Cthulhu. I'd be like, fuck yeah. Now we're taking out that Lovecraftian racist shit, but it could totally be Cthulhu.
Yeah.
This creature of madness with a tentacle mouth and the wings coming out of the water. Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's do it.
Because you know what? Lovecraft's dead and his shit's public domain, so I can do whatever I want with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I want to say, yeah.
Gotta love Lovecraft being dead.
Yeah, right? And his stuff being public domain, which means I can do what I want with it. Which means I'm like, no, man, Cthulhu got no gender. Cthulhu non-binary. That's how we're doing things. Yeah. I'm going to do as many things as I can with Cthulhu that would make Lovecraft roll in his grave in horror. Why? Because he was racist. So, fuck him. Yeah, I have a hard time.
I love artists.
I know. I have a hard time getting down with any subclass where I honestly feel like it's just a rehash of another subclass.
And I feel that.
Give me something new or don't give me anything at all because I have something else. And honestly, I think the Great Old One patron is superior.
It is.
Fathomless.
It really is.
They're too similar to me. And I realize when you read over the Great Old One, we're like, well, but this one doesn't come out of the water. I'm like, yeah, but Cthulhu comes out of the water.
Yeah.
And Cthulhu's the Great Old One. And that may be just me and how I operate, but I can't get down with the Fathomless. And I'm playing in a game where one of the players is a Fathomless Warlock. And it's cool how they came up with it. The world is called Fanta Seattle. And so it's Seattle.
All right, we're ending the stream early.
It's great. It's way in the future, but you know how we have that hockey team now, the Seattle Kraken?
Yeah.
His patron is actually the Seattle Kraken.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, And his
Damn, I
characters are
still need to
cool.
remember to go get some Kraken swag because I still
Yeah, you do.
haven't.
You know what you need to
Yeah.
do? You need to get Kraken.
So we're ending the stream early.
That's what happened.
No.
But so yeah, I can't get down with the Fathomless.
I
I'm
feel
not
that.
that interested in like, oh, my patron is an octopus. Whatever. If you're doing something out of the water, you're gonna have it be Cthulhu, which was covered by the Great Old One.
Yeah.
Suck it up. Pick up this guy right here. You know I brought it with me, which is why it's here today, kids.
Brought it with you. You're in. Whatever.
It's right behind me.
It's brought it with you. We're still at home.
I get it. I'm a cranky old man about some things. I'm 90 at heart in some ways.
Yeah.
This is one of them. You don't want the new thing. The Great Old One was fine. Fathom it. Fathom these nuts.
Yeah.
Moving
See, the one that I don't like, because I have to just cap that on Fathom these nuts.
I'm not topping that.
Yeah, no, there's no beating that.
No.
Nope, shouldn't have said that.
Beating and topping.
That's
Don't
God.
Google it at work.
Nope. Yep. This is that episode for us. Great. So the one that I dislike the most, and the thing that sucks is that I dislike it more mechanically than anything else.
Go on.
Because thematically, it seems like it could be cool,
Sure.
and that is the Undying.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The Undying, it's cool. Like, your patron is, it could be just the powers of undeath. Your patron could be a lich that's still like alive. It could be so many cool things, and you can get that like that dark edgy warlock without being, that dark edgy warlock.
Except so many of the spells and abilities you get, like, I'm with you. It feels like it can't decide if it wants to be a necromancer or a cleric.
Yeah, it's just not good. Like,
no, I agree.
Because the thing that you get right at the opening is, you get the cantrip Spare the Dying. Ooh, free Spare the Dying spell. Oh,
yeah, it's like,
oh, buddy.
Cool, I guess.
And like, cool, you get advantage on saving throws against disease, but a lot of DMs don't use disease because the rules are convoluted.
They are. It's never going to come up. It's never going to come up unless you beg your DM make this come up.
Like, it's a thing that they at some point really needs to be focused on for 5th edition is poisons and diseases.
Yeah,
because there's such a big thing in other editions of D&D, in other tabletop games, and it's just not in 5th edition right now, and I want it. Also because the game has a poisoner's kit and like skills on poisoning.
Let's use it more.
Yeah. Like, give me that poison-based assassin. Give me that noxious, like, that just noxious poison miasma wizard. Or the noxious poison miasma warlock. But we don't get it, because all of this, like, defied, like, and the 6th level ability, Defy Death, it's great. You can heal from dead, which is nice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not enough to be that helpful, and it's also only once.
Yeah, it's once per long rest. When you succeed on a death save, or when you use Spare the Dying on an ally, you can allow them to heal 1d8 plus con mod. But again, that it doesn't scale at all, which means even at high levels, you're topping out at 13 hit points there, unless you somehow got your your charisma. No, I'm sorry, con mod.
No,
not
it's
charisma yeah.
And also, it's your constitution. It's not even theirs.
Yeah, your con mod, which probably never got above a +3.
Probably not.
Or maybe a +4. Maybe you got it up to 18, but you jacked that charisma first.
Yeah, and it's just not good.
Yeah.
And like the 10th level, you age at a slower rate. who's got a campaign that's going long enough in time for that to really be a factor?
Yeah, and magical aging stuff is so rare. The being able
Yeah,
to hold your breath indefinitely is kind of cool.
I
Not
mean,
needing food, water, or sleep.
then you
That's
can be shoved in the bag of holding.
yeah, you can. You can shove the warlock in the bag of holding. Just stick them in there because they have a stupid ass patron and you don't want to hear about it.
Right.
Yeah. Um.
It just seems so freaking like, why? Why? Like, I
And
get that it's a cool idea to have your patron be a lich or something of undeath. That is dope as all get out. Um, then why don't you have any skeleton summonings?
exactly. Like, and talk about that 14th level ability. That's just
Uh, Indestructible life. Uh, it's fine.
like the coolest thing about it is being able to reattach severed body parts. Except here's the problem: there are so few mechanics for severing body parts in 5th edition.
Yep. The only time that's gonna come up is if for some reason you get the hand of Vecna
Yeah.
and you get interrupted.
You're like Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah. just like all right, I'm gonna attach the hand of Vecna now, and you get interrupted partway through, and they steal the hand of Vecna. And it's like, well, I guess I can put my regular hand back here.
Yeah,
Cool.
no. I'm with you
It
on the
just
Undying.
it's just not good. And
Like
it's such a cool idea that was executed so poorly.
I'm kind of angry at it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because the idea that your patron is a lich,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's
'Cause,
kind
like,
of cool.
Because, like, having your patron be a lich, like, it gives so many opportunities for that antagonistic relationship with your patron.
Opportunity, yes.
Yeah. Wait, what is it? What is it?
Opportunity, yes.
Ah, God, I love hearing it. So that's from a game we played.
Yep. Yep. That is from a Lost Mine of Fandelver that we did that nobody
Yep.
watching this has any idea about.
Nope,
Unless
absolutely not.
Jamie, Alexei, if one of you are watching, then you are aware because you were part of it. And it was a
All
great,
for all 4 people involved.
yeah, inside jokes, baby.
They're the best thing. Everyone loves them.
Especially people who have no idea what the heck you're talking about. They think it's the best.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my thing with the Undying. It's just not good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is one of the few classes where when people are asking about what archetype or what patron they should take, assuming they're fairly new to D&D, and if they're asking, if I were DMing for them and they were going like, I'm going to play a Warlock, and they asked me for input because they're going, oh man, this Undying thing sounds so cool. I'm going to steer them away from it so fast.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go, the abilities you get, they're just not that great. And I don't love when I have to look at the abilities that an archetype gives me to decide if I'm going to take it or not.
Yeah.
But I think the Undying goes in the category of disappointing. Like,
Absolutely.
I think what you get out of it is legitimately disappointing compared to any of the rest.
Yeah.
I don't like the Fathomless, but at least it has some abilities that I think are good.
Yeah. And they make sense.
Yeah. My issue with it is like, you already did this. You called it the Great Old One.
Yeah.
It's just Cthulhu. And I like the Great Old One, how it works better.
Now, we're getting close to time.
Yep.
So I do want to shift to wrapping up.
Let's do it.
But with the last thing that we talk about with Warlocks, because they're so cool,
They're dope.
is that we mentioned it a couple times. But I'd like to know, of the pact of the blade, chain, or tome.
Yep.
Which and I know it's very situational to what pact what patron you have.
Sure.
But out of those 3, like, which one overall is your favorite if you had one?
I do have a favorite, actually. Unless you're a Hexblade, in which case I think take Pact of the Blade if you're a Hexblade. It's not that you can't get use out of the other ones. I think that one makes the Hexblade sing.
Mhm.
Outside of that, I think it's Pact of the Tome.
I
Because you
fully agree.
more spells, and particularly you can take a lot of ritual spells that your
Yeah.
party will thank you for having. Um,
Especially if it's Liamon's tiny hut.
it is. In the campaign I run that Jordan plays in, we
Hmm.
have a warlock in it. He, for most of the time, was actually Pact of the Chain,
Yep.
and he did a lot of great stuff with his
Oh, yeah.
familiar, where it would help scout out different areas because the familiar could go invisible. But for me, bang for your buck, Pact of the Tome.
Yep.
Because where does the Warlock suffer? Not enough
Spells.
spells. And what does this give you? More spells. Because as a Warlock, if you get so few spells, you get to choose. And if
You really
you're
do.
choosing those ritual spells, you're really minimizing your usefulness. Now you could take all those ritual spells. And if you find a wizard spell book that has ritual spells,
You can copy them.
down, as long as they're on the list of spells you can learn, and you can cast rituals.
Yeah.
Do it, and your party will love you.
Which it's just huge. Yeah, but
is.
I 100% agree with that. Like, and
That's
Pact of
talking about
the Tome.
Let's talk about spell books, and that's going to be next week.
Oh man, when we
Wizards.
get into the wizards, baby. Oh man. Oh, that's gonna be a fun episode. We're gonna go way over time on that one, I think.
We'll try not to, but
yeah,
it's us.
Yeah. So thank you all for watching. This is we are going to end because I have food to make and you have food to get.
I gotta go pick up tacos.
Cause you boys are hungry.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for watching. Please keep up on our Facebook and our relatively empty Instagram.
Yeah, share the shit out of our stuff too, because if we entertain you, let us entertain your friends, and if we bore you, let us bore your enemies.
I love and hate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and come through and drop a view or two on your YouTube. I know there's a group that I'm playing with, that I'm starting to play with as soon as we start. I think Monday is when we're going to finally play. But like our DM has been using these class videos to help our new players.
DM.
And like it's apparently these are good guides.
We have opinions, and we don't do it just on min-maxing.
Yeah, and so like share this stuff with your friends. Yeah. Cause it's fun. Friends are good. Yeah. I didn't have a plan for what I was gonna say for that, but here we are.
We're sorry we don't have a one shot for anybody who's interested this month.
Yeah.
Lifetime and the pandemic got away from us. I am looking now at actual one shots. We will have something for April.
It'll also be much easier for us to do one shots because there's the possibility of since we'll be vaccinated soon, there's the possibility of like you and Jamie actually being here with me. Yes. So we can use my computer for the streaming. But
yep, be great.
Yeah, so yeah, there's the possibility of that, which would make everything easier. So yeah,
that's it.
I think that's all. I think that's everything. I mean, we're undoubtedly gonna forget something, and then
is what it is.
But anyway, Bjorn, what do we always say?
Do something nice for yourself this weekend.